tells us that someone has the right to disinherit, but the knowledge and the wisdom and the grace of the scholars won't be found in such a person. Nevertheless, there are times that it seems that halachically it could be viable. Never recommended it. Never. But sometimes it's viable. Moshe Feinstein suggests that the only time it's viable, although not recommended, is when you have someone who completely leaves the faith. Because the Talmud in Ksubis tells us the reason why you should never disinherit, even if someone leaves the faith, is because you never know what's going to be with their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren. But in today's day with Chabad all over the world, there's virtually nobody that we can lose hope about. But nevertheless, the Torah does not recommend anybody disinherit any children. The fact of the matter is, in a base sin, they will probably win. So now let's talk about a secular will. The basic question, or the simple question, the most obvious question is, so what? Let's say I write a secular will. What's done is done. I, with my money, could do with it what I want. If I want to divide equally among my children, I have that right to do that. Right now, I could give out all the money in my pockets. Not much, but I could give it out. Why can't I give out the money equally based on a secular will? And second of all, isn't there a halacha of dina de malchusa dina? The law of the land is the law. We as Jews do not live in a bubble completely. We respect the just laws of this fantastic, majestic 50 states of the United States of America. Don't we believe in the concept of the law of the land is the law of the land? And these are two crucial errors. Number one, the law of the land is the law, of course, exists. And if I get into an argument with my Gentile business partner, although you'll be surprised how many of them agree to go through arbitration of a Jewish court, of course, go to secular court. But if I have an argument with a member of a shul, a friend of mine who is Jewish, of course, dina de malchusa dina doesn't apply. The laws of choshen and mishpat, the laws of the monetary laws of the Torah, don't go to the wayside. There will be no rabbi who will tell you otherwise. But the question still remains, so what? Okay, I didn't listen to that law. I still have the right over my money. Isn't it viable? When I have a secular will, is it not still viable? So first of all, you should understand as follows. If you want to know if there's anybody in Torah Judaism that accepts a secular will as viable, you have to understand that there are complexities. I don't want to get into, as we said, the depth of these concepts. But in order for giving money, even as a gift, for that to be viable, there has to be a true acquisition, a kinyan. It has to happen before death, not after death. In Judaism, we want to retain title over our monies up until the moment of death, and then transfer from the decedent or from the testator to the decedent's family. Secular law doesn't have such provisions. You're able to, even after death, based on your will, to remain to hold on to your title from the testator and then give it over to the decedent's family. Is there anybody who recognizes a secular will in Jewish law? Yes. None other than Moshe Feinstein. Moshe Feinstein, of course, is arguably, perhaps inarguably, in the last 50 years, the recognized posek hador, whether Hasidish, Litvish, Nisnagdish, Tzioni, everybody recognized Moshe as a towering figure when it came to halacha psuka. And Moshe Feinstein, in a very early tshuva, in his first volume of Responsa number 109, suggests that what is written in the secular will, not because of dina de malchusa, not because of the law of the land being the law of the land, but because he felt when something is accepted as strongly as a secular will, and there is strong historical evidence that Orthodox Jews for the past 200 years have relied on secular wills, ein kinyan gadol mizu, there's no greater act of Talmudic acquisition greater than that which is accepted by the masses. It's called kinyan satsuta, although he doesn't use that language. And although I could cheat and tell you that Moshe didn't condone the activity, but he said it's viable. That's not true. In fact, it seems that he condoned the activity. He says, "Afilum ein anu neviim," even if we're not prophets, we are the children of prophets. There's no question that Moshe Feinstein felt very strongly about the power of a secular will. Now, that being said, as we all know, when it comes to the study of Torah, it doesn't make a difference who someone is. It's all based on their arguments. It's all based on how they explain their decision. And virtually, if not all, every single posek from that moment on disagreed with Rav Moshe. Before Rav Moshe, Rav Chaim Ozer, the great based in Vilna. Today, whether it's Rabbi Mordechai Wooligan Yeshiva University or Rosh Hashanah Yeshiva University, Rabbi Feivel Cohen, the left, the right, everybody disagrees with Rav Moshe. And if you would say to me that, well, Rabbi, I agree with Rav Moshe. Well, what's the problem? I eat non-Chol of Yisrael, and here's another example of Rav Moshe Feinstein believing that Chol of Yisrael can be found in Chol of Stam, even though the majority of poskim disagree. I'll agree with Rav Moshe on that you're making another grand mistake and a misinformed error. Let me explain how a Beis Din works. In a secular court, the court has has the responsibility to provide a lawyer for the defendant, correct? Either the court or the state or the federal government. What about in a Jewish court? In a Jewish court, there is a concept of a lawyer, a taub it's called. It's not recommended. Sometimes it is recommended, it's not expected. There is a concept of kimli. Anybody familiar with the concept of kimli? Let me explain what kimli is. When it comes to matters of doubt, matters of suffix, in Jewish law we deal with suffix based on statistics and other variables. So you call up a rabbi, you're unsure if there are bugs in your lettuce. You're unsure if the milk fell into the soup. You're unsure if you use a dishwasher for fleshik and you just use it now to clean out the macaroni and cheese. The cheese was stuck to the pot. Any uncertainty in halacha, we have a way of dealing with it. Based on Talmudic statistical analysis, we have, even when it comes to issues of aguna, famously after the war, Moshe Feinstein issued allowances for 2,000 women who didn't know what happened to their husbands to remarry without a get, based on Talmudic statistical analysis. Now, it should be said that out of 2,000 heterim, not one of Moshe's leniency, not one of the husbands ever came and claimed to be alive. Never happened. That being said, that's with Even HaEzer, with Or HaChaim, and with Yerodea, with those three branches of the Code of Jewish Law. When it comes to our codes of monetary law, Choshe and Mishpat, there is no such thing as doubt. We have to be certain, especially when it comes to taking money from one litigant and putting it in the hands of the other. There's a Talmudic statement that everybody knows, Hamotzi mechaveiro alav haraya. The burden of proof in a Jewish court always falls onto the person who wants to take money out of the hands of he or she who is muhsik, who is actually holding on to, either in title or literally, to the money. So this means as follows. Since we're dealing with a monetary issue, if you want to rely on Moshe Feinstein's opinion, you write a secular will, and you divide the money equally, and we're going to show you how you could divide the money equally, and we're going to suggest that you should divide the money equally. So if you're nervous about, or the women in the room think they're not going to inherit the Torah for centuries, has drawn ways that we could avoid this, and we'll discuss how and why. But for now, if you want in a secular will, divide everything equally, or just give it to your spouse based on a secular will, what's going to happen one day, either immediately if you have a knowledgeable son or daughter, or in years to come, the rabbi is going to be getting up in Parshas Kisavo and discussing the law of the right of the firstborn, and the son's going to go to the rabbi and say, this is an archaic and antiquated law, right? We don't practice this anymore. That I'm a bechor, that doesn't exist anymore, that I get a double portion. And the rabbi will say, yeah, it does. Really, because my parents divided everything equally. I can't win in a court of law, right? I can't go to a Beis Din and have the rabbis issue a law that I deserve double portions. And if my brothers and sisters don't come, there'll be a nidui put out against them. They can't be a member of shul if they ignore Hazmanas Beis Din. A call to, yeah, you probably would win. And you want to assume that your children won't do it. I could tell you, I need aid, I could testify that families that have been close for years fall apart because of this. And when they get to Beis Din, and even if you write in your will, I'm relying on Moshe Feinstein's opinion, so if a Beis Din ever reads this, you're stuck, they could say Kinley. What Kinley is a tool when it comes to monetary matters that a litigant could claim in a Beis Din, in a Din Torah, in a Jewish court, and at times